Nigeria has brought more of its citizens into the financial system, but remains far from its goal of getting 95% of the population fully banked by 2024, according to a new report. Now, the percentage of adult Nigerians with formal financial services, including bank accounts, insurance, mobile money, rose to 64% in 2023 from 56% in 2020, according to EFINA, a UK government-backed firm working to deepen financial inclusion in Nigeria. But just 52% have a bank account, and a more comprehensive adoption is being hampered by widespread poverty in Africa's most populous country. So, can artificial intelligence improve financial inclusion in Nigeria? Our next guest, of course, is a player in the digital connectivity space. He joins us now to discuss. A warm welcome to Toluwani Adejuyigbe, who is the CEO of Go54. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, tell us about what you do, and as far as the digital connectivity that you're trying to put forward for SMEs and so on.
Right, so Go54 is a domains and hosting player. We're the largest in West Africa. We've been at it for 17 years. And effectively what we do is, you form a business, you want to come online, you want to buy a domain, you want to host a website, where you go to. And we've been doing that for the last 17 years.
Yeah. So as far as the financial inclusion discussion is concerned, I know you dabble in artificial intelligence as well, right? So is that in profiling businesses? How are you utilizing AI?
So there are two ways we think about that. One way is with a website builder. So you want to build a website, you maybe don't have resources for a developer, you don't have skills for code. You click in, the name of your company, the industry, color scheme. In 10 seconds, you have a website. And we've seen a lot of massive adoption of that in our core markets.
Okay, well, we constantly refer to internet penetration, broadband in Nigeria. And, according to data from the NCC, the Communications Commission, I mean, if you look at the entire range of 2023, broadband penetration was below 50%. Yeah, so, I actually thought it was that touched above 50, but from, January all the way through 48, 47, 45 at some point, even 40% in September. How can digital connectivity for the purpose of financial inclusion be achieved if half of the country can't access faster internet service?
I think the beauty of that is you have players like MoneyPoint who are now working in the offline space. So financial inclusion means you're still doing payment, you get a bank account, but they're doing it with the POS systems, you're doing it with agency banking, and you've seen a rapid adoption of that actually. But I think it's very important that they start with that, and over time you see customers then saying, hey, actually I want to know how many products I've sold. I want to know who my customers are, and that brings in the need for that connectivity. You then need some form of internet access to do that.
But you're giving a dashboard with all that information at Go54, yeah?
Precisely. So everything you need to know from setting up a company to reaching out to your customers, Go54.
Okay, now as far as on the education side, right, the teledensity, smartphone penetration, and so on and so forth. Isn't something to be said for the education level of the user of your dashboard, the data that you're providing, and the setup of the business and so on? Doesn't that play a role?
It does, but you see, that's the beauty. We meet the market at their point of need. So for example, we have a bulk SMS product. So to you, that doesn't look like digital connectivity.
Right. I was going to say that.
What happens is, on the face of it, right? You sell that in our markets, people love it. They're reaching 10,000 customers with SMS. Tomorrow, they're like, hey, that actually worked. Can I do email marketing? Hey, can I do Google List My Business? And it's a continuous leap that we tend to see, as opposed to a drastic, I've never used the internet before, and day one I'm going to a dashboard. It doesn't happen.
Right.
So we're doing that continuous compounding, helping them ease their way onto digital access.
Does that take a lot of manpower? I mean, as far as the time it would take to put that forward.
It does, but it's the education that's required, right?
Yeah.
The most of our market is offline. We're not in the US, right, where you're paying for eyeballs on digital ads. So we need to focus on the offline market.
So how are you making money? You get a fee every time you connect someone, or how?
We charge a fee, right, for our services. So bulk SMS, you're paying a flat fee for 1,000 customers. Email marketing, the same thing. Hosting, you're paying monthly. But I think for us, we don't also want cost to be a barrier to that. So it's quite a low fee, right, to ensure that there's rapid adoption.
And so speaking of the rapid adoption, once again, the AI is it from the profiling or the setup that streamlines the process?
So the setup streamlines the process, but we have what we call a diagnostics tool.
Yeah.
So I run a business, I'm like, hey, Dr. AI, what's going wrong? How can I improve my marketing? How can I improve my reach? But again, that's at the deeper end of it, right? On the scale end, starting in is how do you get people onto the internet before we then solve the AI issues.
Right.
So we're playing on both ends of the spectrum in that sense.
Now, as far as the adoption is concerned going forward, what's your view on that? Before we even get to AI now, with what you're doing, right? What are scaling? How are you going to do?
So I think the first thing is today, you start a business. I think 75% of Nigerians run a business side, hustles and whatnot. There's a lot of benefit and reach if you have a website, if you have a domain name. People take you more seriously. If they can pay into a business bank account. We're helping people do that in an easier way, right? So as opposed to waiting until the very last minute, you set up a business, you get all those tools. And I think that's the gradual way I see digital adoption.
What about the informal sector? Because of the number of Nigerians that are, the informal sector, a lot of them not connected to the internet, the government trying to get tax revenue from the informal sector, there's, from the young guy or girl who pumps tires of vehicles on the side of the road to those frying akara, what it is. Isn't that getting them, isn't that a challenge?
It is. But so we segment this, right? So we have some agents who spend time on the ground, right, in core markets, sort of evangelizing and speaking the word.
Yeah.
But we also need use cases, right? So I use MoneyPoint because they've done it very well. They have these POS terminals, blue, you can't see them everywhere. And people don't think they're coming online, but for them, that's the first hook, right? And then tomorrow, you're already doing that payment. You're getting it very quickly. You want to take a step further. You want to take a loan, right? And then tomorrow, you want to know what your customers are buying. And that's how we see it happening.
How much, as far, I asked you about broadband penetration. What's the role? Because a lot of what you've talked about now is private sector driven, right? And you're even leveraging on another, the POSs and so on. That's also. What about government's role in all of this? Are you saying, hey, listen, whatever you do with infrastructure development, that's your issue. We'll just chart our own path forward. Or is there a bigger role for the government to play?
I think there's a bigger role for government to play in terms of the infrastructure, right? I think you're having, the high end of the spectrum with Starlink. Still too expensive for people to use, but there's a clear gap, right, in that internet access, right? And broadband doesn't solve all those issues. The telcos are doing a little bit with the data sets, and you're seeing more people actually want smartphones as opposed to feature phones, even at the 20, 30K range, right? Government has a role to play, but we can't wait for the government.
Gotcha. Right? Back on the education matter, what do you make of the curriculums, public school, private school curriculums, in terms of training the next generation? I don't know what your staff strength is, how many Nigerians you've hired there, and so on and so forth, but are they able to catch up as far as the school system is concerned, catching up with the rest of the world?
Oh, definitely. I would like to say our team is strong technically and will probably compete head for head globally. But what's different is traditional models don't work as much anymore, right? I think the accelerators, incubators, boot camps where in 6 to 8 weeks, you learn all those skills as opposed to going through a 4, 6, 8-year university course. So I think with that, you're still equipping the talent pool here versus going to the standard curriculum of education.
The talent pool is being poached, though. I mean, getting, hey, Rotus, I'm in Canada now, I'm in the UK now. What about being able to compete to keep that talent here?
I think the economics is where people would go.
Right. Go where the money is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're seeing people also stay here, right, and get remote jobs where they're earning 10, 20 times what they would. And that's good for us.
Yeah.
Right?
We've got to follow up with you on this. This is a very interesting topic. Toluwani Adejuyigbe, of course, CEO of Go54. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.